All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to start off with a very simple, basic question. Thank you for everybody being here in the chat. And for the OGs that have been here for a long time, congratulations. It has been a special, special week. And it's exciting to be here on this journey right now. Let's start with you, Arnie. What are your raw thoughts before we get into all the numbers and nitty-gritty stuff? Palantir, $250 billion, $100 stock. How are you feeling?
Great, and let me tell you, how true is prepare for the worst, but be exposed to the best. And I think that's how I personally approached the earnings, but I'm sure I was not the only one. We were discussing a lot about what could have potentially gone wrong because the valuation was already implying good expectations. And I don't want to bother you with that because we discussed it like very, very, very much. We discussed very much also the SaaS component, which I saw as the potential weak spot, to the point that I woke up this morning and I noticed a guy commented my video explaining like the risk of a SaaS, and your analysis sucks. And I was like, well, actually, our analysis was correct on underscoring this is a potential real risk, a risk that Carp essentially managed from the beginning, explaining what was going on, because the reality is people, apart from a couple of analysts, didn't really wake up on that. So when a management talks already like in advance of the stuff that could piss off analysts rather than, I didn't expect this, is always better, is like a damage control. And on top of this damage control, I think they made literally the impossible. Impossible that so exceeded literally even the most rosy expectations from the most bulls, because we were saying, guys, but if we're already guiding good revenue growth, we're already guiding this high free cash flow margin, I don't think they are going to disappoint there. But they didn't disappoint. Like they completely smashed their guidance at a certain point, like at that point where literally it's like talking to another company compared with what we were discussing a couple of years ago. We were there hoping for an acceleration towards 30%, and now is like 30%. Okay, that's the baseline. So before we go deeper into the numbers, I would say just, wow, this is the Palantir that I wished I would have seen 2 years ago when I was loading the boat very heavily. And now it's really happening.
Matt Money, your raw thoughts on this week and on earnings?
Interesting. Didn't expect this much of a run, obviously. And I've been dragged through the mud, obviously, over the past week or so. Regardless of whether or not Amit thinks that a lot of people agree with me, that it's not the case in a lot of the comment sections. So there's that. But with Stride, I'm still okay. I still have all my shares. And so with that, we're having a good week.
All right. And Amir, your raw thoughts on this week's earnings?
I've been saying for a couple of weeklies now that I believe that it was really a pivotal quarter for Palantir. Like a lot needed to happen, if not this quarter, then early on in 2025. And I got a lot of answers to like the few concerns I might have had for Palantir. And I think I got a lot of clarity from this quarter. So it was very important from that aspect. And if you recall, during the earnings stream that we had, I jokingly said, what do you expect that the stock can do in case of like a blowout quarter? Like no one was really expecting it. Like we were all like tempering our expectations. We were like, yeah, more or less aligned that we will see something like 31% growth. And then we got this blowout quarter, and Amit actually said, yeah, I believe maybe we can go to like 90. And then we blew past that all the way into the triple digits. And now I don't even know where we're trading now. I'm not really looking, but that was crazy. So yeah, very special quarter. Yeah, special quarter, special commentary from Carp. He got emotional. Many of the investor base got emotional, like life-changing money for a lot of people. Congratulations to all of you. And from the numbers side, it was very important as well. So, yeah.
I love it. So I want to get into the I think we'll do numbers first and then valuation later. I know there's a lot of talk about valuation. We'll get into all that, but I think we should probably spend a good 20, 25 minutes on numbers and then we'll do valuation. First of all, thank you everybody for being here and being part of the weekly. Before we get into numbers, I do want to play what Amir just talked about, which was Alex Karp's closing message to the investors that believed when no one else believed. Let's take a listen to that and then we'll get into these numbers.
Thank you all. Alex, as always, we have a lot of individual investors on the line. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end the call?
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am. Let's not talk to analysts about the burden of being right, our burdens of investing in ontology, our burdens of actually looking at the math, the burden of reading what the rule of 40 is, the burden of being honest about what an enterprise software company is, or the burden of explaining to your friends that you're really happy. Maybe we should just stop talking about it. I'm very happy to have you along for the journey, and you are partners for us. Every Palantirian, we are crushing it. Everyone else who's listening, we are dedicating our company. We have dedicated our company to the service of the West and the United States of America, and we're super proud of the role we play, especially in places we can't talk about. And we love our success in the U.S. and globally. Also, we are doing in the United Kingdom and many other places. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world. And when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them. And we hope you're in favor of that. We hope you're enjoying being a partner. And we're really happy and very, very focused on what we're doing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes Q&A for today's call.
Before we get into numbers, just some raw reactions to that, because that obviously was an emotional moment. Amir, any thoughts on that?
I'm trying to recall what I said, at the moment. Of course, now it's all cooled down, but I believe it really felt like he was talking directly to me, to us, to everyone in the chat that's been along and been studying this company for so long, to actually finally be rewarded. It felt like he was really speaking to all of us straight to our hearts. So at the time, I think it was quite emotional. Now, back to as Arnie likes to call it, psycho mode investing. So now it's not the same, but yeah, it was really special the moment we heard it. And even I think the first emotional moment was actually when he was answering Dan Ives pretty basic question, and he went on for really long talking, and then towards the end you could actually see him start to tear up and stuff. So I think that was the start of it all. So very magical moment.
Arnie?
We are talking a man that essentially already achieved the impossible. So when he was saying, we are doing it, it goes way, way beyond we are making billions. And it's not only we as the company, is we, including all of us that were truly investors, but not only monetarily wise, true investors into, we believe that this mission has a sense. And despite all the criticism, despite all hate, despite all you can't scale, you're a consultancy, all blah, 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 we are doing it. We are killing all these bad stigmas that people are putting on us, and we are winning. So I'm super happy. I think this is we have seen occasionally Karp very happy, very angry. I love when Karp goes emotional, because that tells you there's a real man behind the CEO. And probably this has been the highest level of joy from Karp. We have been ditched for 20 years, and now we are making it.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give my thoughts and then I'll hand it over to Matt. I think Rick said it right here in the chat that that's 22 years of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, constant rejection to get to this point. When he said we're doing it, to me it was just, as you said, Amir, him talking to the retail base that he knows, you know, when the stock was $6, there was only us that were actually making content, caring about the company, and now Bloomberg and CNBC care, but that's after it happened. And I think one thing about Karp is that he cares about loyalty. He cares about people that actually believe in the mission. That's why Palantir's turn rate is so low compared to other tech companies. And at that moment, I think it was just pure joy because, you know, what is the journey of life? The journey of life is to actually try to do something against the odds. I mean, or that's like one of the more special journeys of life, right? When you try to do something when the world says you can't, and then you pull it off. And this quarter, 36% year-over-year growth. I mean, that's not a baby number. We all expected on the high end, maybe 31%, then guiding for 30%. Adjusted operating margins went up 7% quarter over quarter. Like when he says we're doing it, we are doing it. Now, how the street's choosing to value that, we'll talk about from a valuation perspective, but no one can say Palantir is not a growth company. No one can say they're not actually doing what they said they would do. And I think those were raw emotions from Karp to the retail investor base, because there was only us that believed 2 years ago that they would actually be able to pull it off. Most people thought this was not going to happen, but it's happening. So I thought it was special. I thought it was emotional. I got a lot of screenshots over the week of people that literally have made life-changing amounts of money. And it's one of those things where you look back and you're like, wow, this was a once-in-a-lifetime company, and they're actually doing it right here. And there was a lot of emotions from Karp in that statement. Matt, your thoughts on Karp's closing message to retail?
I've always thought that Karp was a really good leader, and I think he's a true reason as to why Palantir has been successful in solving such big problems and why they've been such a controversy across the globe. And I think he's one of the main reasons why the company has such strong values and is getting sort of the valuation that it has, right? Everyone can see the brand. Everyone can see what they stand for, and they're not wavering from that. And I think that a lot of that has to do with Karp and his notes to the retail shareholders, you know, wasn't necessarily just to us as retail, but also the people within the organization to show, you know, hey, we're not wavering from what we believe in. People are starting to find to believe in us now. So in that respect, has been really good. And I can't fault him for what he said whatsoever. And it's nice to see the fact that he's able to get a little bit of fruits from his labor, which has obviously been evident over the past 20 years.
Yeah, and it was nice to see some real emotion. I was seeing some takes on Twitter over the week of people saying the call was cringe or whatever. CNBC was like he was talking way too much to retail versus institutional.
We need more of that. We need more of it. I was literally just listening to SoFi Weekly about how Anthony Noto is some robot military guy who refuses to talk to shareholders, who refuses to, and I agree 100%. Like, you know, it shows courage to reach out to not just the Vanguard, State Streets of the world, but to all your shareholders, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're not listening to your customers, you're not listening to the future of the world, then you're just going to falter. You know, why listen to State Street and BlackRock? They're the ones that have the money. They're not the ones that are on the ground making the consumer decisions. They're the ones that just own a bunch of stock in a bunch of different companies versus the people that are in Palantir and the ones that are the reason why the stock price is so high because they refuse to sell. And institutions are trying to buy in. You know, they're the people and the reason why the stock price is over $100 today.
Yeah, okay. and real quick to that point, Brent Thill from Jefferies on CNBC 2 days ago said Karp doesn't respond to institutional emails or whatever. It sounded like he was like, you know, upset about it. And I'm like, maybe because the institutional analysts are used to being wined and dined for their price targets to be raised, and Karp wasn't playing that shit. He was going to prove to the world that they had a real product, and if you believed, you believed. And I think that's why it was so emotional to him as well.
I was going to underscore exactly that. As someone who worked in the financial industry, obviously not like a Wall Street, like a career, like it was like the light version, okay? But I saw the dynamics, and the dynamics is when you are in the institutional world, you think you are cool and sort of entitled to speak with companies, especially if you are from one of the leading banks. And when you see the CEO of the management actually giving credits, like talking to retail, which typically you as a finance guy is like, oh, these dumb retails, blah, blah, blah. And realizing, whoa, like actually the retail people got it right. That is something that really shakes the confidence of these high ego, low confidence professionals, because they believe they know the stuff. And if stupid retails actually are able to get where they were supposed to do, it's like they feel useless without really realizing that at the end of the day, the institutional money world means nothing without retail. Like they are there to actually serve the retail world, because even the pensions fund, the investment funds, like they're mostly held at the end of the day by people.
Yeah, and the other
oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say real quick, the like Jefferies charges an arm and a leg for their institutional research to their clients. So if you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for this research, and the research says don't buy it, it's worth $28, and then the thing's at freaking 115, it definitely hurts the analyst's credibility. Go ahead, Amir.
No, I was just gonna say, like, we are really seeing the capitulation of Wall Street, like, in full effect. Like, prior to the earnings, if you recall, Keith Weiss, which was like a long time bear as well from Morgan Stanley, he was demoted, and then they got a new analyst that took the reins on Palantir. Like, no, like, we are done losing so much money on your poor calls on Palantir. Like, I'm sure some clients were pretty upset, and that's why they made the drastic decision. Like, seldomly will someone be demoted if they have like main coverage for a company on Wall Street. So that was like the first sign that, oh my God, like they had to raise the price target from, I think, 28, more than doubled it. And then now they again like raised it again by a lot. I think they're up, like we're talking about Morgan Stanley here. I think they're up to like 90 plus now. Same with what you mentioned, Brent Steele. He went on CNBC just like minutes before the earnings call. He's like, yeah, this makes no sense. This is in all my 20, 30 years on Wall Street, I've never seen this sustainable. It's never going to work. After the earnings call, he's like, okay, we're raising our price targets as well to 90. Like, everyone is starting to capitulate. Even what's the bear that had like a $9 price target? Rishi also raised. Rishi also raised to like 40 at least, but that's like 4x. So we're seeing Wall Street capitulation like on full blast now, and they're like panicking, like, oh my God, we missed out. We can't look like idiots with like price targets of 9 when the stock is trading like more than 10x that. So they're all starting to raise, but the question then becomes like, okay, which one of these is actually well grounded and understands the business? Because I made a long stream, like 1 hour, where I went through the Morgan Stanley report after they demoted Keith Weiss, and this Sanjit is the new main analyst. It's like, yeah, we're raising our price targets. We got this wrong. I was like, okay, did you really get it wrong? I read through the whole report. There's no reference at all to understanding Palantir. Like, that whole report is only talking about price to sales and comparing it to different companies in the SaaS world. Nowhere in the whole report, despite like demoting Keith Weiss, do they actually talk about Palantir's products, how they're differentiated, how they're going to capture the market, the mission statement, like nothing. Like, they really still don't understand it. So it's going to be interesting to find out the coming months, quarters, like which of the Wall Street analysts will really like reset, like, okay, we were wrong. Why were we wrong? And try to actually understand the business, because so far it's still only Mariana, the UBS report, and then Ives. I mean, 3.
Yeah. We did get a lot of Palantir price target upgrades today or over the week, which we'll talk about as well.
Can I show you something very little?
you want to play the clip from Brent?
No. Just I want you to see, like, you can see the disappointment from this analyst from Jefferies from his faces already from 1 year ago. This was 1 year ago, 3 months ago. And now he's making this round of CNBC interviews. Essentially, I was wrong, but it's overvalued. Trust me.
Dude, scroll down. The one with him and Dan Ives got 100,000 views. Wow. That's damn, dude. That's. I mean,
look at the frown. Like, what the?
No, CNBC definitely made that thumbnail on purpose, bro. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing.
That's really telling. That tells you the difference between how you should reason in tech. And to be honest, I was quite aggressive when I first interacted with Dan Ives, because I was more like grounded into the numbers, and I didn't fully appreciate the way he put out evaluation. But I have to admit, well, maybe he's too extreme for my side, but he puts weight on the dynamics that matter. While this guy from Jefferies, overall, is a good analyst. I don't disagree with that. But it's too anchored to the numbers without really understanding the dynamics of the numbers, which in tech is literally the most important thing. When you evaluate an utility company, it's almost all about numbers. Like, you don't expect crazy things, you don't expect challenges. But if you want to understand the future of something that is really evolving, you need to know the dynamics. It's like knowing, okay, if I have the ontology of the business, I can actually understand the dynamics of the business. I can go way beyond the Excel spreadsheet, because by understanding the dynamics, I know what are the inputs that generate the output. Therefore, I have a predictive power. So that's the big learning I have.
Imagine the fear now on Wall Street, because in aggregate, Palantir is not really, it doesn't really have very wide coverage. Like, there are very few analysts relative to the market cap now. I think we're not even up to like 20 active ones. I think we're at like 15 or so. So imagine being like, people will have to cover this now. Imagine the fear in the conventional analyst eyes when they get assigned, you're gonna cover Palantir for us, and they're like, oh my god, like, career destroyer, like, you get this wrong, like, you are smoked. Like, imagine the fear in the analyst community these days. Like, you have to cover Palantir. Amazing. As Carp says, and has been saying in his remarks towards analysts, like, this is gonna be fun times for us.
I've been trying to find the clip. I can't find it. Amir, maybe one of you, hopefully one of you guys in the chat can find it. Where is the clip where Carp said, why do I care about what the analysts are going to say? I know what they're going to say in 2 years.
I think it was Davos, CNBC 2023.
Okay.
They're outside. He's talking to the CNBC guy. I forgot his name on CNBC, but it was Davos, I believe.
Okay, I've been trying to find it. I want to get that clip for everybody again, because that's a fun one to watch right now.